Kid Cudi once said he was living a nightmare while everyone thought he was thriving. And this nightmare might have started at one of Diddy's parties. In the mid-2000s teens, Kid Cudi was experimenting, innovating, and chasing a sound no one else was making. But while his music was bending genres, behind the scenes, things were unraveling. By 2016, Cudi checked himself into rehab, opening up about a long battle with depression and emotional burnout. He said it himself. He was smiling in public but living a nightmare in private. Now here's where things get interesting. At that same time, Diddy was throwing his infamous all-white parties, the ones that had half of Hollywood on the guest list and the other half wishing they were invited. These weren't just harmless get-togethers. They were loud, legendary, and packed with high-profile names, including Kanye West. And guess who was tight with Ye during that time? Kid Cudi. It's no leap to imagine Cudi showing up at one or two of those wild nights. After all, he was everywhere back then, from studio sessions to red carpets. While there's no proof Cudi was a regular at Diddy's events, they shared mutual friends, collaborators, and likely spaces. And if you look at the energy in those parties, fast-paced, pressure-heavy, no off switch, it's not hard to see how someone already dealing with inner struggles could feel even more lost. Remember that 2015 album Speed and Bullet to Heaven? Critics didn't get it, but Cudi later called it a cry for help. Looking back now, the timing lines up. Fame, exposure, and a scene that never sleeps, paired with personal demons and industry pressure, it's the perfect storm. When you piece together the timelines, the circles, and the vibe, it really makes you wonder how much of that glittery world was just masking deeper pain. Around 10:45 a.m. in a Manhattan courtroom, Scott Mescudi entered in a leather jacket, cool as ever, but the moment was heavy. Diddy himself turned in his chair to watch him walk in. What he revealed wasn't just shocking, it could redefine the entire case. This wasn't a publicity stunt. This was raw testimony from a man tied to a dangerous web of betrayal, jealousy, and destruction. But how did a Grammy-nominated artist end up at the heart of one of the most talked-about trials in music industry history? What started as a private romance between Cudi and Cassie turned into the ignition point for a dramatic feud. According to court statements, Diddy had found out about the relationship, and that revelation may have triggered a series of dangerous and deeply unsettling incidents. Cudi testified that not long after that phone call, something unexplainable happened. He received a call from someone he believed was Combs himself. The voice on the other end made it sound like he was inside Cudi's home. Cudi was alarmed, as he should be, and he reportedly demanded, "Wait, are you in my house?" Diddy's reply was so calm and cold. "I just want to talk," he said. Cudi rushed home, but the house was empty. And yet it wasn't untouched. According to his testimony, the holiday presents he had wrapped for his family were torn open. Nothing was stolen, not a single item, but everything was disturbed. Even more disturbing, his dog was found locked in the bathroom. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no kicked-in doors. It was as if someone had a key, or had been let in. While prosecutors didn't confirm who entered the home, Cudi made it clear who he believed had done it, and why. For many watching the trial, this wasn't just a story about an angry ex. This was something darker, something personal. Even a year later, things continued to escalate. In 2012, Cudi's luxury Porsche 911 was torched outside his residence. A Molotov-like device had reportedly been inserted through the soft top. Flames engulfed part of the car before fire services could intervene. Now here's where it gets even more suspicious. Cassie had previously told others that Combs had threatened to damage Cudi's car. Image? At the time, Cudi did what any civilian would do. He called emergency services. But there was one thing. He couldn't prove who did it. It was nearly impossible. There were no fingerprints, no witnesses, no clear footage. But the rumors never stopped. Now, years later, federal prosecutors are using that very incident as evidence of a pattern, a method of intimidation allegedly used within a larger enterprise of coercion and control. The alleged arson is now one of the predicate acts in a broader case involving organized misconduct. It's not just a personal vendetta anymore. It's potentially part of a criminal conspiracy. And Cudi is one of the few who's willing to speak out after the break-in, after the car fire, after all the rumors. Cudi agreed to meet Diddy face-to-face at Soho House in Los Angeles. He described the scene like something from a movie. Combs standing silently by the window, hands behind his back, staring out at the city. Cudi said the encounter felt surreal, like walking into a villain's lair. They talked, calmly. Cassie had apparently told Cudi she and Combs were no longer together. Cudi was seeking answers, closure. At the end of the meeting, as they shook hands, Cudi asked, "So what are we going to do about my car?" Combs reportedly looked him in the eyes and replied coldly, "I don't know what you're talking about." That answer chilled the courtroom. It wasn't just denial, it was the tone, the silence behind the words, a stare that said more than any confession could. One of the most jaw-dropping revelations in court was Cudi's claim that Diddy obtained his address from Cassie. If true, that adds a deeply personal layer to this saga. It suggests Cassie, whether knowingly or under pressure, may have been the bridge that connected the dots and opened the door, literally. Cassie's own testimony in earlier hearings revealed she feared for her life and for Cudi's. In a message sent to her mother before Christmas 2011, she wrote that Diddy had threatened to harm both of them. Her fear wasn't unfounded. Her warning became prophecy. The web keeps getting more tangled, and the motives go deeper than most expected. After his testimony, the public had mixed reactions. Some praised Cudi for standing up and speaking the truth. Others, particularly those in the hip-hop community, accused him of snitching. But let's be clear, Cudi isn't a gangster. He's not from the streets. He's a chart-topping artist, a father, a creative, a man in eyeliner and kilts, a man on the moon. He didn't retaliate in the streets. He followed the law. He made the calls. He waited years. And when the system called him in, he told his story. And after testifying, Cudi took to social media with a heartfelt post thanking fans for their support. "This has been stressful," he wrote, "but I feel relief. I'm grateful for all the love. Guys, the deeper you dig, the stranger this story becomes." If the accusations are true, why would Diddy, one of the wealthiest men in music, risk everything over a relationship that he himself had allegedly kept casual? Some insiders believe it wasn't about love. It was about control. Multiple reports suggest that Diddy only allowed Cassie to see other men if he could supervise or orchestrate it, a disturbing pattern of possessiveness and manipulation. So, when Cassie dated someone outside of that dynamic, someone like Cudi, it may have shattered the illusion of control. And it wasn't just about Cassie. Allegedly, Diddy had the same reaction when Cassie was linked to Chris Brown, Michael B. Jordan, even industry insiders. This wasn't about romance, it was about dominance. And when Cudi became part of the picture, Diddy's alleged response wasn't heartbreak, it was retaliation. So what do we have here? A secret relationship, a break-in, a torched car, a silent standoff, and a courtroom moment that left jaws on the floor. Kid Cudi didn't take the stand for attention. He didn't show up for clout. He showed up because he'd lived through something that sounded like fiction, but felt all too real. Whether or not Diddy is found guilty of these charges, this much is clear. The testimony of Scott Mescudi has left a permanent mark on this trial. And as the case unfolds, one thing is certain. The world will be watching what comes next. Because if this is just the beginning, the end could be far more explosive. Hit that subscribe button if you want more untold stories from behind the spotlight. There's always more than meets the eye.